Welcome. How are you?
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What is time here there?
It's 10 o'clock. I actually just finished another meeting, so
Another meeting. Okay.
another meeting.
Next
And
time.
then,
Very
Yes.
productive. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, Faizan.
Hello, Jihan. Hello, Sedan Hojam. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Dr. Faizan Hocam.
He is almost Turkish.
Yeah.
We assume that he is from Pakistan, and Pakistan is very close to us.
Yes.
Thank you.
We know him very well. Thank you very much once again for your participation.
Teşekkürler.
Maybe next year you will fluently speak Turkish.
I try. You know, I'm watching a lot of Turkish dramas.
Yes, we will ask because we already studied a little bit about your story. We spoke about with the Sedan, and we know we will ask other questions, not only the academic questions.
No problem.
Ask daily life questions.
Sure.
But you are free to reject it, of course. Of course, it is not like a research paper. You may reject easily here.
Thank you.
Hey, Shiva. Hello. Hello, Eda Hocam.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Sedan. Hello, Faizan, and other
Hi.
colleagues.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Eda merhaba, hoş geldin sen.
Merhaba hocam, hoş bulduk.
I also see Abdullah Hojam. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you, Faizan. How are you doing?
I miss Koshadase a lot. What a wonderful place.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to welcome you at our faculty premises. And on behalf of my faculty members and the graduate students, it was a great contribution to our insights in terms of the PLS algorithm. Thanks to your contribution, I had published one article including the PLS algorithm. That was a great opportunity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I still miss Kushadasi. I mean, the time was very limited, but such a wonderful city. People were very, very nice, but the overall, the city was just so beautiful.
Yeah. Maybe next time, as the Professor Osman mentioned and emphasized it, we welcome you anytime,
Yes, definitely.
Maybe coronaviruses, the pandemic. And I heard a lot of news from the Texas. I have a friend living in Texas. They suffer from some flood and something like that. They experiencing some shortage of water, electricity, something like that.
Electricity cut, yes.
Yeah, it is the case in Florida or not?
Florida is okay. The problem with Florida is that these days there are too many people in Florida. So whenever something happens near Florida, then many people move to Florida. So Texas is not very far, right? So it's just a couple of states away. So then whatever happens in Texas or Georgia or Alabama, then people move to Florida. So you see too many people. It's just so crowded right now here. Yeah, but it's just how it is.
Yeah. Because of the global climate, it's due to the global climate problem. Yeah, coming from the north of the American continent, and they combined the cold and the hot weather and in the cities over there, and they cause a lot of unwanted things, I guess.
Yeah, even now it's very interesting. If you look at all over the world, the weather is just unbelievable. I was looking at the news and there was snowfall in Palestine. I mean, normally you would think, what is snow doing in Palestine? It's like in the middle of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a heavy snowfall there. I saw many of my friends from Istanbul. They were sharing photos of the snowfall and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know normally Istanbul gets colder, but a lot of snowfall is a bit weird. So I guess all over the world, the weather, climate change is impacting so much stuff now.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. What about time, Sedan? Can you start?
We can, we can start. If you want, I can start.
Dr. Faizan, can we start? Because the time is limited. Time is valuable, so we have to start, maybe.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, please.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning. Depends on which time zone you are living in. Please accept our greetings from Turkey. Today, Dr. Faizan Ali from the University of South Florida is our guest. Before we start, please let me invite Professor Osman Özdan to deliver his opening speech.
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening again. On behalf of Adnan Menderes University, Faculty of Tourism, I would like to thank everyone for being with us today. And this webinar series, named as Academic Footprint, originally conducted by Dr. Ülker Çolakoğlu and her team, of course. And they invited me as a guest moderator, not like Sedan. Sedan always here. And we will try our best with Dr. Sedan, thanks to Sedan. And before we get started, I would like to express our appreciation to our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Faizan Ali, and of course to you for your participation. I hope we will have a wonderful time for knowledge share. As I mentioned, me and Dr. Sedan Doğan conduct this webinar, and please feel free to ask any question. Once again, thank you very much for your participation. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Faizan Ali, for coming to our invitation. Now I can pass my words to Sedan again. Yes, please. Thank you.
Professor Özdan, thank you for your speech. Now, please allow me to read this short bio of our guest. Dr. Faizan Ali is a marketing professor and graduate coordinator in the School of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the MUMA College of Business at the University of South Florida. He holds an undergraduate degree in Business Administration and Information Technology with distinction from the Institute of Management Sciences, University of Peshawar, Pakistan, and a master's degree in management with a dissertation on consumer behavior in airline industry from Glyndevere University in the United Kingdom. He received his PhD in marketing with a dissertation written on customer experience in the hospitality industry at the International Business School, University Technology Malaysia in June 2015. Dr. Ali's research interests are in the areas of customer experience, service performance and quality, customer satisfaction, and behavior. Dr. Ali is also enthusiastic about developing new skills and working on various methodological aspects of hospitality and tourism research. He has authored more than 100 international refereed journal articles and international conference papers. Also, he is the recipient of 4 Best Paper Awards. Dr. Ali is an active member of various hospitality associations. He serves as the coordinating editor for the International Journal of Hospitality Management, the associate editor for the International Journal of Contemporary Hospitality Management, and the assistant editor for the International Interdisciplinary Business Advancement Journal. He also serves on the editorial boards of various journals. Dr. Faizan Ali, many thanks for accepting our invitation. In a few seconds, I will pass the microphone back to Professor Özdan to start the session. Before that, let me go through with a few housekeeping items. Please keep your microphones muted during the session. If you have a question, you may simply use the raise my hand option. In this case, we may ask you to unmute yourself to ask your question. Alternatively, you may write your questions in the chat box. Professor Özdan, the stage is all yours now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sedan. It's very nice. It is not short bio. You said short bio, but it was long. So he made lots of things. Thank you very much, Dr. Faizan Ali. And what I will do, I will use my privilege. And I will ask first question, if you don't mind. And please assume that it is a kickoff question. And I want to make a little bit ice-breaking in this session. And I want to ask to Dr. Faizan Ali, what is the situation there in terms of COVID-19 pandemic and how it's affected your daily and academic life? Could you please tell us? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Usman, and thank you, Sedan, for reading the bio. I always feel a little bit, humbled whenever my bio is read. And, despite all that stuff, I still believe that every single day there's so much more to learn. And these type of events, even though when people invite me and they say it's like a special guest or guest, I don't believe like that. I believe that interaction with anybody, whoever, we have more opportunity to learn and to know people and to network and collaborate. So I hope that today's session will also be a very good platform to network and to collaborate with each other in the future. So with that, coming to COVID-19, interestingly, these days, it does not matter the location. If you go to a coffee shop, a restaurant, university, class, my family, Zoom meet, whatever, right? Wherever you are talking to somebody else, and whatever the topic is, it ultimately brings COVID-19. So that gives you an indication of how severe this problem is, right? It doesn't matter whatever you want to talk about, somehow the discussion is connected to COVID-19, right? And I think it definitely has changed a lot of stuff in the US. I will tell you this, that US has already passed on 500,000 people who have died because of COVID-19. And 500,000 means it's almost like a big city population. So when you think about it, think about the families it has impacted, think about the organizations it has impacted, because these 500,000 people were family members of somebody. They were working somewhere, they were doing stuff, right? So all that is a big impact. And of course, that's the reason why we see this COVID-19 coming up into the discussions many, many times. Now, how has it impacted me personally? I love my job. I absolutely love what I do. And when we say job, most of you who are professors, you know that 30 years ago, teaching job was supposed to be a teaching job. Now it's not like that. Now it's teaching, it's research, it's service, commitments, articles, there's so many things. Still, the major part is teaching. I cannot go to my room, sit in front of a computer and then teach a class with 40 people who I don't look at their faces, but I look at a thumbnail on a screen, like a small picture on a screen, right? It just does not make any sense. And I hate to say it. I mean, I never thought I'll be saying this, but I feel so demotivated now teaching, because to me, it's not like teaching, right? To me, it's like speaking in front of a screen. So that is a big impact, emotionally, psychologically, it pushes you so much. So this is one thing. The other thing is, my father used to work in a bank, and he worked very hard. I sometimes, we kids did not meet our father for 3 days, 4 days. And the reason was because we would go to school early in the morning. He would come very late. So when he would come to school, we were sleeping, and then we would early morning get up, go, right? But still, on Saturdays, Sundays, other times, we knew that my father is going to come back at 8 p.m. And I've never, probably maybe 4 or 5 times, but not really remember the time when my father would come home and then he would work for the bank at home. It was not like that. So he would go to the bank, he would work very, very hard in the bank, come back home, and then it's home, right? For us, normally academics, that's not the case, right? I mean, you come home, then you prepare for the lecture tomorrow, right? Then you go to university, you teach. Now with COVID-19, whatever little work-life balance was left, it's also blurred. So in the morning, I wake up, directly I come to one room, sit in front of the computer, I keep sitting here, do my stuff. The kids come, their classes are online, right? So it's really a big mess. Yesterday, in one meeting, somebody asked me, they look at my background and they said, Faizan, is this your office? I said, well, I don't know what to call it. It's my office, it's my kids' homework room, it's my empty room where I can sit for a while. It's my gaming room because I connect my laptop to a controller and I play games sometimes. It's a room where when my wife is really upset with the kids and too much shout, she come and sit here because it's... So, I mean, when you think about it, it definitely has changed all the aspects of our life, personal, work, and everything. So, yeah, that's what I would answer.
Thank you very much for this answer. And I will use another privilege because Abdullah, I will pass to speech to Dr. Abdullah Tanrısevdi because we hosted you together in Kuşadası, and I think he deserves it. And it's your time. Yes, please. It's your turn. You may open the microphone.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Özdan. Yeah, it was a great opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, and it gives us a lot of insights to understand the underlying dimensions of what type of the algorithm inside the PLS. So it's useful. Thank you for your great contribution. And my question is about the relationship between academia and industry. As we all know that, and I'm curious about your opinion on this matter. We have a lot of publications and do research, conduct a lot of meetings and Congress, and I sometimes feel that it's a waste of time to produce much more than 150 or what else. So I don't want to generalize it too much because it will be unfair to some of them, but the industry professionals do not pay attention to our outcomes of our results. So it's a critical issue and controversial, but it's our responsibility to publish, some requirements set by the administrators. We have some pressure on our shoulders. If you get promoted, you are supposed to produce many publications. It's no doubt, no matter what kind of the study on this, but it's a critical. But so you have been to different countries in the world, namely Malaysia, UK, and nowadays in the States. In my opinion, in Turkey, there are little pay attention to our outcomes, to our publications. So what kind of the strategies do have to implement to figure it out? So I kind of ask you to clarify my mind in this regard. Thank you.
It's a very good question. And, my answer to this question, so there are several things that you asked, Professor Abdullah. One thing that you ask is about industry and research, right? There's difference, and then some people focus on one, some focus on another. I'll tell you something. I think about it a little differently than many other very senior academics. And I'm not saying they are wrong or I'm wrong. I'm just saying that it's a different viewpoint, right? I'll tell you this, okay? Most of the people here in this session are from Turkey. And I know most of you like football, right? You like football. So, and if you don't like it, at least you have an idea about football, right? Now, if you take football as an example, you have different type of players. There are players who are good in attack, so they normally play in the front. There are players who are good in defense, they normally play in the back. And then there are players who are good really in passing, so they play in the middle. And then you have goalkeeper, right? You normally don't see that, okay, we have a player like, let's say, Messi, okay? Messi is a good attack player. Nobody asks him to play in the defense, right? Or nobody even asks him, do you know how to play in defense? Nobody do that, right? It's just, this is how it is. Then you see any other profession, okay? Let's say you have a profession like hotel industry. Okay, some people who are good at customer service, they work in customer service. Nobody asks them, can you do housekeeping, right? But when it comes to academics, it's very funny. Like, as an academic, my job is to teach and to do research. Yet I'm asked, how is your research going to be used in industry? Why? I mean, why are we doing this? Has anybody ever asked a CEO of a company that you are a CEO, can you write a research paper? No, nobody asked them. Then why is it that academics are pushed to understand industry? Now, having said that, does it mean we shouldn't understand industry? No, I don't say that. We should definitely know the industry because many problems are from the industry, and our research should help understanding or solving those problems. However, the problem and the main issue is this. Okay, so let's say in US there's a position for assistant professor. Okay, now they say, okay, you should have a PhD, you should have research publications, but you should also have 3 to 5 years of work experience. All right, I understand this. Now the thing is this. Okay, somebody comes to apply for this job. They worked in the hotel industry 3 to 5 years in maybe 1995, 2000, 2005, and now they are applying for a job in 2020. Do you think that work experience in 2005 or 2010 is relevant today with all the changes in the industry that is happening? No, it doesn't make any sense. So in my opinion, instead of focusing too much on previous work experience, we should ask people, faculty, to have live faculty internships. At this time, work with the industry people so that you understand the current situation in the industry rather than, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, because the industry is changing so quickly, right? Now, this is one thing I would say. Now, the other thing is focusing on outcomes, all right? So focusing on outcome, I absolutely agree to you that one research can have so many different type of outcomes, right? So you do a research, again, Professor Abdullah, the issue is that many journals, many administrators, university, deans and other people, they normally generalize things, right? So they say, okay, you do this research. What is the theoretical implication? What is the practical implication? What is the societal implication? It's never going to be like this. I mean, if I'm doing the research to focus on theoretical implication, how can I bring practical implication in it? And if I focus on practical implication, then how can I bring theory in it, right? So I think that the best way of doing it is that you should do a research, and to bring different outcomes, you need to use different type of channels, okay? Sidan was here in the US with us for a year. She knows this. So like I work with Professor Jihan, we publish a paper. Before that paper is even published, we take some very important basic findings from it, and then we publish it in a newspaper. When we publish it in a newspaper, that is not considered by my university. My university do not consider that newspaper article as a research paper. But what happens is that newspaper is read by industry people. Then they reach out to us and ask more questions, and this is how we do it. Once the paper is published in research journals or whatever, then other students, other researchers read it. So we focus on multiple outcomes within one research, but you have to use multiple channels to bring it out. You cannot just publish one research paper in a journal and then write managerial implication. I have reviewed more than, 300 papers in the last 2 years, okay? I look at my publons. I do not remember one paper, even one paper out of all these 300 papers that have really written good managerial implications. Because whatever I read is already happening in the industry. Like, the organization should do this, they are already doing it. So what is the implication here, right? So, and the funny thing is this, okay, I'll tell you, and then I'm finishing. I did one paper, okay? Sidan knows it. It's really about technology of the future. I'm not going to say it because I don't know, maybe some reviewers or something, right? I don't want to say the name, but it's about really advanced technologies. I submitted it to the top journal in tourism, and it was rejected. And I'll tell you why it was rejected. Because the editor said, your paper is too much in future. Like, nobody is doing this yet. So in my opinion, it's just it's hypocrisy. Like, okay, if it's future, it's good so that people should think about it and do it, right? And if I don't do it, then my paper is rejected saying that what's new in your paper? So again, that's why it's important that we use multiple channels. Newspapers, magazines would never reject a paper like this saying that it's too future focused. I mean, they never do this, right? Research paper, but if I send a paper to a magazine or a newspaper that talks about theory of plant behavior or technology acceptance model or something, then they would say like nobody reads these things. So I think as researchers, our duty is to use multiple channels rather than one channel and try to deal with those audience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sarkan Hoca has joined us and he texted the question in the chat box, but it's kind of a statistical and technical question. I will ask that question just 2 or 3 questions after. And I would like to ask one thing, Faizan. I know, because we have worked together, I know that you had no course or class related to statistics or methodology or research during your master's or PhD education, but you have improved yourself enormously. So how could you do that? So what kind of suggestions can you give our scholars and early career scholars?
Good question. So there are different reasons. Okay. So one is, yes, it's true that I have never received any formal education in statistics or research methods. The reason is because in UK, if anybody knows the system in UK for masters, it's a 1-year degree. And normally, you take one course in research methods, which is a generic course. So that's done. And then Malaysia, I see Aisha is here from Pakistan. She studied in Malaysia, I think. Or anybody else who understands the Malaysian system for PhD. Again, there's no coursework. Normally, you take 2 courses. One is about Malaysian culture. That has nothing to do with research. And the other one is research methods, which is, it starts and then it finishes very quickly because it's a generic course again. So now, how did I get into research methods? One, I was studying in UK as a student. Difficult to manage finances because, in UK, there are not too many scholarships and everything. So what I did was I started working in different type of places. Okay, so I was working in a pizza shop. I was working in factories packing potatoes, all types of things. Okay, but there was a time where I was. So one day I was standing in one factory packing apples, and near me were a few Polish people. Okay, they were all working in factory, and to me, I'm thinking like, what am I doing? Look at me, like I'm getting a master's in UK, and I'm standing with these people who are just swearing at each other. They are just saying, F words and this and that to each other. And what is it? Like, I was so upset with me on that day, right? So when it's break time, I check out of the factory and I went back home. But I didn't come back after break, right? And then those people called me. They said, like, you didn't check in. I said, I fell down. I broke my leg. Like, I just lied to them because I didn't want to go back, right? I mean, like, what is it? So I go back, and then 3 days later, now my bank account is going down because there's no work, right? So, okay, what do I do? And at that time, one of my friends, he asked me to help him with one assignment. Okay, so he had an assignment. He said, can you guide me with this? So this guy was very miser, okay? He was so miser. Like anytime there's something to spend money, £1 or £2, this guy would walk for an hour but not spend £1. And I was in a bad mood, so I didn't want to talk to him. So, I told him a few times, go away. He doesn't listen, okay? He keeps saying, please help me. So I said, okay, here's the deal, okay? I will charge you to teach you. If you want me to teach you, I'll charge you. He said, okay. I mean, I told him charge you because I thought he's going to go away, right? He's a nicer guy. But he said, okay. And this is a surprise to me. And I'm like, okay, then there's no option because I already said it to him, right? So I teach him, and then I don't know, he gave me 5, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, something like this for an hour of tuition, right? So I tuition type of thing. Okay. So the next day now I get calls from a few students, okay? Different students, like, tuition. Okay, this is cool. Like, now I enjoy it, right? Tuition and this and this. But most of the people were asking questions about research, right? Research related stuff or some technical issues. So it become good, right? I become like a popular guy in my university. I was having a seat in the library. Every day I go in the morning till the night. I have several students tuition and this and that. But when somebody gets busy like a business, then you have like competitors come up, right? So after a while, then there's like a few tuition centers in there, right? So now my business was going down, so there's nothing else I can do, right? So I was like, what do I do now? Now the problem is with all this stuff going on, I realized that people still get stuck on statistics. Like whenever it comes to SPSS, nobody knows SPSS. All right, so what do I do now? That's an opportunity, right? It's a niche market. There's like all the marketing things come into my mind. So I started every night looking at YouTube videos. At that time, YouTube was not as sophisticated as now, but there were some very good videos. So I started practicing those videos, looking at them, practicing them, and trying to understand them. And that's how then I changed my focus of that tuition from generic tuition to statistics tuition. So I started teaching statistics. But those of you, and probably Professor Abdullah knows this, that normally when I teach statistics, I do not use statistics in teaching statistics. I normally use daily life examples and things like this to make it easy for people to understand. So that's how I was introduced to statistics and SPSS, and then slowly, gradually, it really got me involved. Right, I was so interested into it, started reading more and practicing. So that's how I started into statistics. And then proceeding with it, learning more and more. Now, one thing I must say here is that when I moved to Malaysia from UK, Malaysia is a wonderful place. I mean, if you want to learn and if you have desire to learn, I think you can learn so much in Malaysia because there's so much opportunity to learn. There are some amazing professors, they're doing workshops, and it's very cheap to get into a workshop. So you can get into a workshop, you can learn, and that's what I did. So this is how I got into statistics and stuff like this.
Okay, thank you. This story is really interesting and actually inspirational. So we can learn by ourselves. So we have to trust ourselves. You are a good example for that. So let's continue with one more question. I will pass the microphone to Professor Özdoğan. You are a very, very active member of the society, academic society. You are conducting research. You are helping graduate students. You are helping society. And there is also life in your house. I mean, you have a family, you have 2 kids. And there is coronavirus. There are different factors surrounding you. How can you maintain the work-life balance? How can you survive? This is a survival question. How can you survive?
Sedan, it's difficult to answer because whenever there's a question like this, work-life balance and stuff like this, right? There's so many factors that go into it, and it's really not like a formula, and it's not like one size fit all type of thing, which is whatever works for me works for other people, because there's so many different factors, right? Now, one thing that I must acknowledge is that, you need a strong support system. If you want to be productive during this challenging time, and even without this challenging time, you need to have a really strong support system. My wife is doing a lot of stuff. I mean, if she was not here, probably I wouldn't be this productive. So she takes care of the kids, and this firsthand, right? Interestingly, that she is not even happy with the American education system. So what my kids learn is not only their school, there's a lot of supplemental stuff, which is additional stuff, right? So she is doing all that stuff. So one is this, support system is important. The second thing is doing things that you are really interested in. So these days, what I'm doing is something that I'm really, really interested in. And what that does is, so if I have 1 hour to work on something in the middle of a lot of other commitments, And if I'm interested in that thing, then I can really make that 1 hour very productive, right? But let's say if you are not interested in something, and I know many of us are in that situation because of maybe the universities we work in or because of the commitments we have or stuff like this, that you have a lot of stuff you have to work on that you're not interested in. And let's say if you have 1 hour, then half an hour goes in developing your interest, motivating yourself, oh, I should do this, I should do it. And then half an hour, you start working on it. And by the time you really get into the flow, then there's something else. So you leave it and then you start going into other directions. So the second thing what I do is all the projects right now that I'm working on are really something that I'm highly, highly invested in and interested in, right? The other things I normally keep delaying, The funny thing is that when Sidan was leaving US, she gave me a gift, okay? And this gift was the to-do list. And because I normally do it by hand, right? So I write by hand every day what I need to do, and I cut it off. So some stuff that I'm not interested in, for the last 6-7 pages, I keep moving them to the next page. So I cut it, move it to the next page. Then the next day I cut it again, move it to the next page. And the things I'm interested in, then I just keep doing those type of things. So that's number 2. And then number 3 about work-life balance is understanding that every day we have 24 hours, right? That doesn't change. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't make it 25, 26 hours. You have 24 hours. And then now, this especially for people who are starting their PhDs or just started their PhDs, the realization that, before you start PhD or before you start a new project or new paper or whatever, you have a set routine, right? So you have 24 hours, you have time to sleep, eat, do everything else. Now, if you add something to this, it means that you have to squeeze other things out, right? Because that 24 hours are not going to change. So you have to either cut out time from other things or squeeze or something. That realization is important. Because many people who complain about work-life balance, they don't realize this. They keep saying yes, yes, yes, yes. And I say this to many of my friends, including Sidan, that don't say yes to everything. Because the moment you keep saying yes to everything, you are actually putting yourself under a lot of pressure, right? Already under a lot of pressure. So that is very important to realize that, within this 24 hours, how much stuff can you manage? Now, obviously, most of the people in this session, including myself, we are from a culture where saying no is difficult. We just cannot say no, right? It's because of friendships, because of relationships, because of other things, but most of all because of culture. It's just not easy to say no, right? So then it's important to have a good team. It's very, very important to have a good team of people that you trust and people that you can work with. So right now I'm working with Sidan, I'm working with Guzde, I'm working with a few other people, and it's a very good team. We are tested, which means we have gone through several things. So we have tested each other. And so if I say yes to something, then I say it because I believe that I have a good team. And if I ask them, they can help me to get these things done, right? So those are just some of the tips I would suggest to work on.
Thank you so much. Professor Adnan, I am passing the microphone to you.
Thank you very much again. I will ask to participants, you may ask your question if you like with microphone, or you can write it down. And I will also ask you have a YouTube channel, research based and very good channel, and I check it, and in 1 year more than 66,000 people watched your research related videos. And I know that you are a marketing professor, and in the service industry literature we have Servicescape, Dinescape, and in this one of the YouTube channel video I saw a big screen in your office. And is there any relation with your academic performance? If we have big screen, I mean, can we do more research paper? I mean that the how you arrange your ergonomy, because it's related to be a productive academician. Do you have any tricks or tips about this? Could you please
Yeah.
share with us?
Sure. I think it's a very good question. So it's interesting because, I see many people making videos on desk setup or room setup or stuff like this, right? It's full. I mean, it depends. It doesn't matter which field you are in. I've seen a lot of people who are movie makers or photographers or, teachers. They make these desk setup videos. I haven't done them. I mean, I want to do it, but I also am very mindful that not many people are fortunate enough to have specific place where they can study. I know many people living in smaller spaces with family, with other people, so it's just not possible to do it that way. The reason why I have a bigger screen is because of two reasons. One, bigger screens are cheaper than buying two smaller monitors, so I don't have a lot of money, so that's one reason. The other reason is space. When you have two monitors, there's more cables, there's more stuff than you do it. So those are the reasons why I don't use two monitors. Now, why I need a bigger screen or two monitors is because many data sets that I work on are pretty big, and I have to scroll. So to avoid that and to make sure that it's accurately done, then I also use a bigger screen. Then also when you work effectively and efficiently, I will tell you this, McDonald's, when they came up with an initial idea of designing their kitchen, McDonald's is a fast food restaurant, one of the pioneer ones, one of the first ones. They invested heavily in designing their kitchen because the way they designed their kitchen was how to decrease movement. So when you are moving, the more times you move your hands or leg, or even if it's a short movement, it takes time, right? So just to avoid those extra unnecessary movements, they have to invest heavily on how to make it much more productive. When you think about working on a research paper, right? So normally, let's say if you are doing data analysis, okay? So in data analysis, what we have is sometimes you have Smart PLS or SPSS or MOS or whatever software you are using. Your software is open. Then you have a Word document open because you need to move your findings or whatever numbers from the software to your paper. And then sometimes you also have one or two PDF files open because you want to have references or cutoff points or something like this. Now, many times if you have a smaller screen, then what you do is you minimize your Word document, you go to PDF, then you minimize, maximize, right? So it's extra unnecessary movements. Plus, your memory sometimes doesn't work that good, right? So you look at PDF, then you go to software. When you come to Word, then you don't remember what was the cutoff. So then you again open the PDF. So it takes a lot of unnecessary actions and times. When you have a bigger screen, normally you split your screen so you have one thing open on one side, another side. So you can look at everything at one glance, right? Some of you might be interested in data analytics or big data. These days many companies are spending a lot of money on dashboards, right? So you have a lot of data and then you put all that data into a dashboard. So it's easier for you to look at it. Why is it? It's just for the same reason. Instead of going through so many data sheets and everything is into a dashboard and you can easily look at it and it's all good, right? Those of you who are working in hotels or hotel industry, something like occupancy rate or ADR, right? Or RevPAR, these three numbers, if any manager wants to see how their hotel is doing, they just look at three numbers and then they get an idea instead of looking all documents. So these type of things just help with that situation, right? Avoiding unnecessary actions and time and everything. Now, having said that, sometimes you need to work with whatever you have, right? So if you don't have a big screen, it doesn't mean that you cannot work, right? I mean, you need to look what you have and make it work, okay? So let's say now if you cannot invest in a big screen or if you don't have a space to do a big screen or whatever, another easier way is to buy a small projector. These days, the projectors are very cheap, very cheap. Small pocket projectors are very cheap. You can connect your laptop to a projector and extend the screen. And anywhere in your home where there's a flat wall, you can use that, right? So that is one way of doing it. There are several companies now, they are producing portable monitors. So you can stick a monitor behind your laptop screen and you can slide it, use that one as an external screen, which is also very cheap, not expensive at all. So again, you have to think of what you have, how you can make it work, and the system that works for you. I was talking to one of my students, Damla, also a Turkish student, 2 days ago. And I told her this, that when you are in a PhD program, many people advise you, right? Many people give you advices, like what I'm doing right now, right? Advice this. Now, the thing is, I am only going to give you the advice through my own experiences. I cannot give you any advice that I've not gone through, right? So most of my advices are my own experiences. My experiences may be very different from other people's experiences, and it may be very different from all of your experiences. So whatever works for me may not work for you. This is very important to understand. So whatever I say, you shouldn't take it 100% and apply it to you, because our situations are different. So the good thing is listen to many people and then see what works for you, or how you can adapt it to work for you. How can you make it work for you, and then proceed. Oh, by the way, yes, one other thing, because Professor Usman asked about ergonomics, right? So one thing that I will definitely say, it doesn't matter where you work, laptop, big screen, small screen, projector, it doesn't matter what you do. There are several things that are very important for you to do. One thing is, I was very jealous of Professor Abdullah's office when I went to Kushadasi, because he has such a beautiful view from that office, right? There's a beach and everything you can see. And if even you are so demotivated, just open the window, then it is all good, right? So I think it matters a lot where do you work. Sometimes, maybe those of you who are on my social media, you would see that many times when I have to review paper, right? Like if I have to review a paper, I don't sit in my office or home office to do that. I put it on my tablet, then I go to a park with my kids. My kids are playing. I sit in a park and review paper. It just refreshes your mind because it's all green and fresh and everything, right? So from ergonomic standpoint, I would say that the more you keep nature close to you, the better it is for you, right? So nature doesn't mean that you need to be like in the middle of the mountains or beach or something. It just doesn't mean that. It just simply means that connect to nature, right? You can go for a walk. If you are too bored, go for a walk, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, come back and then do something. Light is very important, preferably natural light. So I normally sit near a window because natural light is much more relaxing compared to lights inside the room. But having said all of that, I'm also mindful that many people just do not have access to all this. So that's why I said it's important for you to see where you are at and how you can make the most of your surroundings or whatever resources you have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we will now come to research-related questions. Before Sarkan Hoca's question, I would like to ask you this. What are the most common mistakes that are made in research? I know this is a really huge topic, and you can talk about this topic for hours and hours, but can you please tell us briefly what are the most common mistakes?
Okay, so again, Siddhan, you are right. It's a very big topic, and it's also a relative topic because, I'm looking at the chat, and Hazrat Amin, you met him yesterday. Hazrat Amin is asking that he doesn't have any idea of publishing, so how he can proceed. So for Hazrat Amin, common mistakes will be very different from, let's say, Professor Usman or Professor Abdullah or Professor Jihan or Professor Fevzi, right? I mean, none of us can claim that we don't make mistakes. All of us do mistakes, but the nature of those mistakes would be very different depending on where you are at your stage, right? So that's why it's a very relative topic. However, I'll focus on younger researchers who are getting into research to, what type of things you should avoid. I'm not going to go into discipline-specific stuff because if you are in econometrics or economics or financial management or marketing, it's very different again, right? So specific, I'm not going to go. Generic, I'll tell you a few things. One, not starting research is the biggest mistake. So many people, what they do is, okay, so like Hazrat Amin just asked a question, I'm a master's student, I've never published anything, how do I proceed? This fear of not knowing enough is the biggest mistake, in my opinion. I think you should start. After starting, then see what's going on, right? Many people, they just don't start. I don't know methodology, I don't know statistics, I don't know language, I don't know this, I don't know that. That fear holds many people back, and it's not good. Okay, this is one. The other one is focusing too much on English language. Okay, many of us don't have English as our first language, and I know that there's a lot of problems. And of course, if you are submitting to an English journal, your language should be good, right? However, language is a secondary problem. It can easily be fixed. Like once you write a paper, you can very easily hire somebody on a very cheap price who can go through your paper, fix it, right? But all of you know there are proofreaders, there are editors, and there are places where you can get this. But I don't think any of you know anybody who can fix your methodology or fix your research method. That you don't have, because that you need to master. So now let's say if you are studying in a university in Turkey where the mode of instruction is in Turkish, right? Does it mean that none of the professors are good at research? It doesn't mean that. Of course, a lot of people are really, really good at research. Many of my friends from Iran, they are so good in mathematics and calculations and everything, but it's all in Persian. It doesn't mean they are not good researchers, right? So what I would say is that focusing too much on secondary things is another big problem that I see. So many people not doing research because I don't know English, or English is not my first language, or, I make a lot of mistakes. Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all, right? So this is another one. The third one is doing research for wrong purposes. Okay, so I ask students, why are you in PhD? Many people go into PhD because they like to have their name called as doctor. Okay, okay, that is funny, right? Because I want people call me doctor, and that's why many people, as soon as the PhD complete, they put doctor on their Facebook profile, like the name changed to doctor this or doctor that, right? Those type of things. I just feel that it's a wrong reason for getting into research, right? If you are getting into this for this type of reasons, of course, then your motivation levels are not good enough to go through all that stuff. However, if you are interested in a topic, like earlier Professor Abdullah was saying, there's so many outcomes. That is a good problem to think about. I'm doing a research, how can I bring it to more people? That is a very good thing to think about, instead of saying that I'm doing research so people call me doctor, right? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So if your motivation is intrinsic, means if you are motivated internally to do research, to do something good, or to know unknown things or answers or outcomes, then you will be motivated enough to deal with the challenges that come with it. But if it's only doctor, then you're probably going to find some shortcut ways to get it done so that people call you doctor and it's end of the day, right? So getting into research for the wrong reasons is also another major problem that we see. Then another major issue that I see a lot is not knowing what type of research you want to do. Okay, so here's the thing. I truly believe that people are not good at everything. It's just not possible for anybody to be good at everything. It's just not possible. Research is different type of things, right? So there's one research called theoretical research, where we focus too much on theory and everything. Then there's a lot of applied research, which is more application of theoretical research and stuff like that. There's a lot of, descriptive research, which is very basic, very descriptive, right? So people are good at different type of research, and it's very important for you to know in the start what type of things you are good at, and then following that instead of getting into something else, because that way you are just so confused, right? So for instance, what type of people can be good at theoretical research? People who are really, really good at understanding theories, understanding the discipline, knowing how things have progressed, right? So Siddhan, you have an experience working with me. One time Siddhan called me when she was in the US, and she said that, Faizan, I have this idea. Okay, what is the idea? Then she told me the idea. So I asked her, can you come on Zoom? So we meet on Zoom, we talk for an hour, and we develop that idea into a model. Then another time we meet, we expanded it, made it very okay, and then now that paper is published. So that type of understanding of theory and everything makes you good at theoretical research, right? Now, with all these publications and everything that I have, I struggle understanding how to write a research grant, because my mind is not wired like that. I'm just not, my mind is not designed like that to understand how to write a research grant. Research grant is very different. It's very applied. It's very different from theoretical research, right? So being a good researcher doesn't mean you are good at all types of research. You need to really figure out what you can do, what you cannot do, right? What clicks for you. And then if you work on that, then you can become really successful very quickly because you're interested in that type of stuff, right? So that is that. Then the last thing is that many people start on this stuff by their own. So like, okay, I want to do research, let's do research. Okay, this again is problematic, and I'll tell you why is it problematic. Is because any other profession in the world, anything you pick up, you always need a mentor, you always need a trainer, you always need somebody who can guide you, train you, right? Now, it doesn't mean that your academic supervisor in the university may be your mentor. It's not that case. I mean, you just need to find somebody who can mentor you. For me, I just always believe, and I'm thankful to people who have shaped me, right? And interestingly, two of them are Turkish scholars. One is Dr. Ceyhan, one is Professor Fevzi, right? I respect them so much because they mentored me a lot, right? To an extent where they even guided me what to post or what not to post on Facebook. And I'm so grateful to them, right? It's beyond academic research. It's mentoring you as a person. And then other people, luckily, one of them was my PhD supervisor as well. So that's the best thing, right? When your PhD supervisor can become your mentor as well. So finding that mentor and working with them and listening to them is also important because many people don't do this. When we are young, 25, 26, young people, there's a lot of, revolutionary thinking in our head, right? So we think that these aged people are just crazy, they don't know anything, or they don't know whatever I'm saying and all that stuff. So normally when your supervisor or mentor tells you something, you go against it, like the opposite way, because many people feel that these people don't know anything. I think again, like I said earlier, it's always a good idea to listen to as many people as possible and then do whatever you think is right for you. But listening is important, understanding why somebody is telling you something, right? So that's another issue that I see many people miss.
Okay, thank you so much. Professor Özdan, if you allow me, I will ask Serkan Hoca's question from the chat box. Serkan Hoca is asking this. What is the reason for the increasing use of PLS-SEM in social sciences? What should be confidence internal in the distribution property of the mediation effect?
Okay. You want an honest answer or you want a political answer? If you want an honest answer, that's because PLS is easy to use. Okay, it's very user friendly. It's very easy to use. There's not a lot of complications, so people use it. Okay, that's an honest answer. The right answer, however, is that it brings a lot of benefits on the table. So when we do social research, many times it's important to understand that your data is not normally distributed whenever you are doing social research, right? Social research means you are talking to people in their social settings. In social settings, there's a lot of biases, there's a lot of prejudice, there's a lot of things that we think about, and all that influence how we answer the things, right? So it's just not possible to get normally distributed data in social sciences. Now, PLS normally works with data that is not normally distributed. So it works, it gives you better results, right? So that's the right reason why you should use PLS. That is one thing. The other thing is normally when we do research, I'm talking about theoretical research now because I guess Serkan's question was also about theoretical research. So there are two main branches. One is where you are confirming theory. So where there's a theory, you just confirm it into other contexts or other areas. And then there's another field, which is theory exploration or theory development or theory extension, where you use existing theories, but you expand them further, right? Most of the social science research is in the second category. Now, even though we call it theory confirmation, but theory confirmation normally leads to theory exploration. And I'll give you an example of it. So many times, some of your hypotheses are not supported, right? So if they are not supported, what everybody tells you? They tell you, think about justification. Think about what is special in your context, why your respondents are special, so these hypotheses are not supported. They say like this, right? You need to think about the explanation. So then you add new explanation to existing theory. And what is a theory? It's already an explanation of a phenomenon. So when you bring new explanation, that means you're expanding that theory, right? So PLS normally works with theory exploration or theory expansion, and that makes it ideal for social science research whenever you are working on theory exploration or expansion, right? So this is the right reason for using PLS. The other part of the question was what should be confidence interval in the distribution property of mediation effect. So this one is a little technical. For mediation, there's again, earlier you asked about common mistakes. So one common mistake that people make with mediation is using outdated support for it. So, just like every other theory that develops over time, mediation also have developed over time a lot, right? Still many people, they are using older references for it, like Barron and Kenny, which was 1980s sometime, which older explanation of mediation. The newer one is 2004, 2008, Preacher and Hayes and other areas like this. So as researchers, it's important for us to develop our own learning, to expand our own learning of different methods that we use, including mediation. So for this question, one thing is I would highly recommend Sarkan to look into the recent literature on mediation, which is important. As far as the confidence interval is concerned, so confidence interval in mediation or non-mediation, like even if you're doing normal analysis regression, you still need a confidence interval. And confidence interval simply means that you look at minimum and maximum and your results lie within that, right? So you have 5%, 95%, it should lie in that. And it's the standard for all types of results. Just like for all types of results, you have a standard, and that is significance value should be lower than 0.05, right? It's a standard, everybody uses it. It doesn't matter you are doing correlation, regression, if you are doing NO1, NO, whatever you are doing, p-value should be lower than 0.05. That's a standard. Similar to that, your confidence interval standard is that your value should lie between minimum and maximum value, which is 5% and 95%. I'll be happy to talk to Sarkan in detail about this more. Whenever he has time, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to explain this.
Okay, thank you very much. We have already consumed our 1 hour time, but there is more questions in the chat box. If you have time, we can continue. Faizan, it's up to you.
Sure. Yeah, we can take another couple of questions.
Okay. Thank you so much. Asim Aziz is asking, what is the difference between problem statement and research gap?
Yeah, very good question again. So problem statement, as the name says, it's a statement. It's a problem statement. It should be a statement. Now, I see many times people write 5 pages of problem statement. That doesn't make sense. Like, problem statement is supposed to be a statement, right? If you just write 1 or 2 sentences, that's your statement. Now, problem statement normally comes from research gaps. Okay, so think about it. You, Saklan Asim Aziz, right? So Asim, from his name, sounds more like from Pakistan or Bangladesh or India. But Asim, please put in the chat, where are you from? But I think if you are in one of these 3 countries, think about when you go to your local politician. Okay, there's a problem in your street. Maybe the street light is not working or something else is broken. You go to the politician. What do you say? First, you tell them the problem, right? The gaps. You say that, all these streets have lights. My street doesn't have light. This is what you say, right? It's the gap. You see what is happening, what is not happening, and there's a gap in the middle. So that's your gap. And based on that gap, then you come up with a statement. You say, because of this gap, now people have difficulty in passing through the street, or people go to the mosque, they don't see where's the dirty water, they step in it, the clothes get dirty. I need a straight light. And this is normally what we do. So first you need to do is you need to find gaps, okay? And gaps are simple. Now remember, one thing that I see many people do, they look at the literature and then they say that nobody has done this before and this is my gap. That's not a gap. I mean, the research gap is not saying that nobody has done it, because of 2 reasons. One, you cannot ever say that nobody has done it, because there might be a lot of people who might have done research in another language, Chinese, maybe Turkish, maybe Spanish, some other language that you did not find. So you cannot say nobody has done it. This is one. The other one is that if nobody has done something, maybe it's not worth doing it. It's just not worth doing it, right? So these are the two reasons why we cannot say that nobody has done it, so I'm doing it. It's just not like this. The best option for writing a research gap is where you find a universally known statement. Like, for example, we all know in marketing that satisfaction leads to loyalty. If you are satisfied, you are loyal. Everyone knows this, right? So everybody knows this. So this is your existing universally accepted statement. So normally in your gap, you provide this one statement first. Then after this, you go with 2 or 3 contradicting statements, like find something that goes against this universally thing. So in my PhD research, my universally accepted statement was that satisfaction leads to loyalty. Everybody knows this, right? This is all the research. However, I read a research report for luxury resorts that 70% of satisfied customers do not go back to the same resort again. Now, universally accepted statement is satisfaction leads to loyalty. Contradictory statement is that in luxury resorts, 70% of satisfied customers are not loyal. So do you think logically there's a gap there? Okay, if they are not loyal, then what is happening? Why is this satisfaction not leading to loyalty? Right? So this creates a gap. Now, this is my gap. So normally for a PhD research or for a top tier journal article, you need to find multiple gaps. You cannot go with one gap, right? You need to find 2, 3 different gaps. Based on that gap, what is the problem? Like what is the main issue then, right? So in my PhD case, I say, okay, because now I realize that satisfaction does not lead to loyalty, companies need loyal customers to survive. Whether it's a luxury company, non-luxury company, whatever, they need loyal customers to survive. So if satisfaction doesn't lead to loyalty, then what are some of the things that companies need to look at to make customers loyal? This was my problem statement, and that's how I proceed. So basically, your problem statement stems from your research gaps. But research gaps, again, are not always things that nobody else has done. You really need to create a logic for it.
Thank you so much. I would like to ask you this: what do you think about how the tourism studies will evolve in 10 years in terms of topic and research methods?
Again, a very good question. So, look, here is a funny thing. Many people that I talk to, including some very high-level administrators in my university and other places, is the fact that many people think tourism is different from other areas. I don't think so. I don't think tourism is a distinct area. I'll give you an example. So, tourism marketing. We know tourism marketing, right? What is tourism marketing? It is normal marketing. It's just that in normal marketing, you market everything. In tourism marketing, you market tourism. Right? It doesn't change the essence of marketing. It still is marketing. If somebody is studying financial management and tourism, don't you think they are studying still the same ratios and financial ratios and balance sheets and income statements and all that type of stuff? They still study the same stuff, right? It's not different. Studying human resource management and tourism, it still is human resource management from mainstream business, right? It doesn't change anything. So I think, and the distinction between tourism and other fields is dangerous. We shouldn't do that. And this distinction that has happened for many years, we are already seeing problems of it in publications. Now, in many cases, if you are a tourism professor submitting a paper to, let's say, Journal of Business Research, they normally look at your affiliation and then they say this paper might be better for tourism journal, which in my opinion is really not good. I mean, why? Because tourism is also supposed to be business. So why is it that tourism paper cannot be published in mainstream business journals? It's because of this distinction. And I for myself, I just believe that it's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea to do this distinction. In 5 to 10 years, what I see is that tourism research will be doing exactly what mainstream business journals are doing right now. Because of this distinction, what happened is that tourism becomes secondary field to business research. So now many times when you even look around yourself, when you have new PhD students or other people, what do we tell them? Go and read mainstream business journals. So if I have somebody coming to me who is studying something related to, let's say, service robots or human-machine interaction in tourism, I tell them, go and read Computers and Human Behavior, go and read Journal of Business Research, right? So what they do is they go and read those things, and then our PhD students are producing things based on papers that are published 5 years back in mainstream business journals. So we are basically following up, right? So in the current situation, if you ask me, I honestly, I'm telling you, what we will be doing 10 years from now is exactly what's happening in the mainstream business journals right now, right? So there will be not a lot of difference. Now, how can we change this? Going back to the first question or second question that Professor Abdullah asked, the outcomes. So instead of focusing on your industry experience that came 15 years, 10 years ago, think of it now. Work with people in the industry. Bring them to your classes. When you are having students, PhD symposiums, PhD seminars, bring people from industry. Let them tell you what are the problems they are facing and then try to solve those problems. Because remember, when in research we are following business, that's not the case in the business. Like that's not the case in the industry. Tourism businesses are just in line with mainstream businesses. Sometimes actually mainstream businesses are following tourism businesses of the innovation and things that in industry is happening. But in research, we are opposite, right? So the more industry-focused new problems you bring to our research and try to solve them, then the more we will be up to date. Now, in terms of methods, I would say that in the next 10 years, tourism research will have much more newer methods that I sort of see now. Things like eye tracking, things like skin galvanic response, or things like EEG devices. Those are already, people are talking about it. So those, you will see more and more that type of stuff. I also think that there will be more experimental research coming in tourism and hospitality research, because again, that is something that the trend is going towards. If there are some young researchers in this group and then you want your research to be very attractive, I would say that don't go only in survey research. Don't do that, because many mainstream tourism journals, even top journals, they are rejecting papers if you have only one sample or you collect data with survey and then go ahead, right? Like tourism management would just reject your paper if you have one sample. So if you are really into quantitative research like me, then I would suggest you to pick up multiple samples, collect one in Turkey, maybe talk to somebody in UK or Australia or US, and then collect multiple samples to test them, or do mixed method research. Start with qualitative, then, take your findings to quantitative, or start with quantitative, then bring more validation from qualitative. But either way, that type of thing will bring more validation to your work, right? Instead of one time collecting 300, 400 responses and then just do SEM or something like this. It will not be good enough.
Okay, Fevzi Hocam, welcome.
Yes, we have Professor Fevzi from the US. Welcome, Fevzi Hocam.
We cannot hear you, Hocam. We cannot hear you. Yes.
How about now?
Yes.
Yes. Welcome.
Faizan, good morning. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you? Good to see you.
Nice seeing you. What happened to your hair?
I wanted to just make it easy. Too much stress.
Yes, I shaved as well a couple of weeks ago. So good. Thanks for joining this webinar. I was the first one to speak, and Cihan spoke after me, and Muzo Hoca spoke. So this is a good platform. And this college, I'm sure you visited Kuşadası. You love Turkey. You're half Turkish.
Yes.
And our students and faculty members really enjoy these webinars. And I see 3 or 4 generations of Turkish academics. I belong to second or third generation, but the new generation right now, they are amazing. I think they will conquer the world academically in hospitality and tourism. You know, there is a term Turkish mafia in the US. So what is interesting is the new generation from Turkey, they most of them have done their PhD studies in Turkey, but they are really competent now in writing, in statistics, in research methods. So there will be a boom in terms of publications and recognitions. Okay. So that's all from me. It's nice seeing all of you. I was in meetings all day, all morning, and then I have several other phone calls, meetings. Just the workload is getting higher and higher. That's very crazy.
Yes. Thank you very much for your participation.
Any other questions, comments? Faizan, congratulations on being the associate editor of IJCHM.
Thank you. I actually just mentioned your name a little while earlier. I said that I'm very lucky to have you and Professor Jihan as mentors and brothers who guide me all the way.
Yes, you're doing good. I'm proud of you. You have done well. You remember 5 years ago we met in Orlando?
Yes.
And then we had a good discussion, and just I think you followed all the instructions, guidance. You're doing well. You're a star. That meeting I was mentioning to my graduate student Damla 2 days ago. Because she's going into PhD, so I was telling her a lot of stuff. And I still remember I was sitting with Fevzi Hojam in a bus. We were going from Rosen College, his college, to Disney World to see the fireworks. And then we had a long conversation because there was a lot of traffic jam. So even though it's like a short drive, but it went very long. We had to discuss a lot of stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you. You're welcome. Very good. Happy for you. Sedan, how are you? I love your hair. I will dye my hair in that color too.
Thank you so much. I'm fine. How are you, Fevzi Hocam? I miss you.
We miss you too. You should come back to Orlando.
Hopefully.
Just busy, but all good. Things
Take
are.
care of yourself. I'm glad you're fine.
Yes, there is a term in English. I'm just trying to keep my head above the water. I don't know how you express in Turkish. Ayakta durmaya mı çalışıyorum derler. Ne derler?
Evet hocam. Aynen.
Yıkılmadım, ayaktayım hocam.
Evet.
Yok, bazen yıkılıyoruz, tamam mı? Tekrar ayağa kalkıp devam ediyoruz.
Take good care of yourself. And say hi to Bendegül hocam. Bendegül hocam.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can listen to the discussions, you know.
Okay.
Başak hocam, are you there? Başak, orada mısın? Başak Hanım.
Denizci mi hocam?
Ülker. Başak nerede? Ülker hocam. Benim kafam karıştı. Hatta yaşlılık.
Buradayım.
Tamam.
Merhaba.
Osman hocam da orada mı?
Evet o da burada. Çok teşekkür ediyorum katıldığın için Fevzi. Ayrıca Faizan, thank you for not revising and accepting our invitation. And thank you for your valuable contribution and useful information that you gave us. Thank you very much. Fevzi, sana da çok teşekkür ediyorum.
Rica ederim.
Bizi kırmadığın için. Ben tabii biraz geri planda kalmak istedim, ister istemez. Burada çok iyi İngilizcesi olan arkadaşlarımız var.
Evet, gençler bizden her zaman daha iyi.
Evet. Sen de gençsin canım, ona bir şey diyemiyorum.
Doğru. Sen ve Osman'dan 15 yaş gençim herhalde.
Evet, ben bu arada tabii hemen Osman hocam, Seden hocam, Yavuz arkadaşımıza, Abdullah hocamıza, Güntekin hocam burada.
Evet.
Tuğrul burada, Ahu, hatta oğlum burada, Aslan da burada izliyor.
Evet.
Katılan bütün herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. Gene sözü ben Seda hocamla Osman hocama bırakıyorum. İyi akşamlar diliyorum.
Zeynep hocama da selamlar eğer buradaysa.
Aleyküm selam söylerim. Çok teşekkür ederim.
Oldu. Görüşürüz, sağ olun.
Görüşmek üzere.
Kusura bakma, ismini de hatırlayamadım. Yanlış söyledim. Utandım şimdi.
Estağfurullah. Hiç önemli değil.
Yaşlılık.
Estağfurullah.
Thank you so much. Abdullah hocam, are you going to ask something? Because I saw you raised
your hand. Yeah.
Yes, it's possible, but I don't want to bother the Professor Faizan. But last but not least, I would like to ask research-based related question. I'm curious about his opinion on this issue. The mixed method research paradigm has been emerged nowadays, and prior to the attending a workshop in Detroit last year, and conducted by the Dr. John Craswell and the others, and he told us that the social science is very suitable for the conducting research method. So, sometimes there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages using the single source of data, which sometimes lead to the common method bias. So, if you want to get rid of the kind of the problem and figure it out, it's more suitable, I think. So, another issue is about the experiment and the quasi-experiment based research designs. So, instead of insisting of just conducted the quantitative based or qualitative based research, what we need is or what we are expecting, just to more qualified research using both mixed method research and experiment-based research. What do you think about these issues? Thank you.
Yeah, so, like I said earlier, the main reason why most people are saying mixed method is good for social sciences is because we want more validation of the findings, right? So survey research, normally you go to 300, 400 people, you give them a set pattern, and then they answer you. So there's no way for you to cross-validate, or to know more stuff. Now, if you are asking somebody about their blood pressure or something like this, then it's okay to do like a survey because it's like statistical stuff, numerics, you don't need additional things. Earlier I said about social research, there's no way you can get normally distributed data. And the reason is because there's so much stuff around whatever you are asking people, right? What makes their perceptions like this and stuff like that. So that is why mixed method becomes important, because when people are giving you their responses in an interview or focus group or something like this, they can touch upon other things. You cannot control them, right? So you get more flavor into the data. So that's why it becomes very, very important. And I personally, for myself, I believe that most of us should move towards that direction to get more valid results and to understand things. You see, there's a reason why we don't have new theories being developed. Even today, people who are working on human-machine interaction or technology adoption or stuff like this, many people are using theories developed in 1980s, 1990s, or maybe early 2000s. But new theories we don't develop because of there's no rigor in the methodology we are applying, right? So mixed methods become very important. And now, when it comes to experimental research, so again, because hospitality is such an applied field, we cannot really do true experiments. It's just not possible because of the limitations. But quasi-experiments or scenario-based experiments can be good. Why is it good? Is again because you can manipulate the things and see how the results have changed, right? So I'm working on several things. Like I just finished a project with one of my graduate students on hotel lobby designs. So again, if you do questionnaires, then you don't have an opportunity to change anything, right? Like it's just a set of questions you ask people. But then when it's experimental research, then what you can do is you can manipulate some of the variables and see how the results are different. But we go one step beyond it. Okay, now if you look at mainstream business journals, I would highly encourage many young researchers here, like, who are starting their PhDs or just started, to go, and if you're in marketing, let's say, you go and check Journal of Consumer Research, JCR, okay? And it's just unbelievable that every published paper has maybe 8 or 9 different studies in the paper. So it's not based on one-time data collection. It's normally 8 or 9. And they went beyond experimental research, and now they call it experimental developing research. So what happens is you start with one experiment, then you see what the results are, and based on that results, you change an experiment for study 2, study 3, study 4. And ultimately, the paper that you publish then becomes much more valid in terms of the findings and results, right? So we need to think more about it. A simple example would be, these days we have this coronavirus and vaccine and everything going on, right? So why do you think the vaccine took such a long time? It's because the tests were not completed. You needed more tests to make sure that the vaccine is really working. It's valid. It's okay. And even now, after all these tests, I know many of my friends, they don't want to take the vaccine because they say they don't know if it's okay or not. So they want enough people to take the vaccine to see the news if everything is okay. And if everything is okay, then they're going to take the vaccine. Similar stuff when it comes to our own research, like in hospitality management or marketing, we just need to make sure that the findings, whatever we are presenting, are valid enough. And that can only be done with in a way where you can manipulate your independent variables to see how your dependent variables are changing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Fevzi Hocam, are you here? Maybe you want to ask a question, if you like.
I am here. No questions, but if anyone has any questions, I can answer. I fully agree with Faizan. Benchmark should never be hospitality and tourism research studies. Research, hospitality and tourism journals should be all generic journals. And also at one time in our lives, we should all try to develop a theory. Maybe it can be Faizan's theory, Osman's theory, but a theory. Okay, do something crazy rather than replicating all previous studies. And the bar is getting higher and higher. But the technology is greatly helping all of us. So you can work with someone from another country you have never met through Zoom or Skype. You can work together.
Yes, sorry.
And Faizan is also a good example of learning new things through YouTube or from books, or I can say, same thing. English is not our first language, mother tongue, but we have been able to publish. So our Turkish scholars should never be afraid of publishing in English. The first paper will definitely be not good, but you keep trying, and rejections are part of our game. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Thank you very much. And one by one free last question. One by one free means I have two questions at the end. What is the most rememberable moment in your academic life? And do you have any, you are at least a foreigner in the United States, and do you have any discrimination you saw in your academic life? Because being a researcher in another country is a little bit difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, this is a very good question. So for the first question, I honestly don't think there's one memorable event, because sometimes when I think about my academic career, it's like a roller coaster. It's ups and downs and a lot of things. I just would say that I feel myself to be very lucky, because when I look back in 5-6 years, since my PhD is completed, and even before that, I feel that my life has been like a jigsaw puzzle. So, that jigsaw puzzle where everything just sets in its place. And I'm very thankful to God and, to my parents for their prayers, and everybody else who has helped me. Professor Fevzi is here, Professor Jehan, my own PhD mentors. They've helped me in a way where I feel that normally people have to learn through their experiences, to understand that this is a mistake, I shouldn't make this mistake. But it's after the fact, right? I feel myself to be lucky because before, or when I almost was going to make that mistake, I had somebody to hold my hand and say, like, don't do this, or don't do this, or do it this way, right? So I feel that every single point like that has been memorable for me. So I cannot forget every time when somebody actually guided me and said, don't do like this or don't do like that. So for your first question, I definitely would say that there's no one point. I feel that it has been really amazing so far. And I'm very thankful and grateful for all of that. And then the other one is about discrimination. So again, an honest opinion is that, yes, there's obviously discrimination. The funny part about discrimination is that you don't know why there is discrimination. Like, for example, for me, I feel discriminated, but I don't know why is it. Is it because I'm from Pakistan? Is it because I'm a Muslim? Is it because my first language is not English? I don't know. I feel discriminated, but because it's such an unusual thing, or it's such a hidden thing that you don't know why the other person is discriminating, right? One thing I will never ever forget is that, and maybe Professor Fevzi even remembers this. I got a job in the US, and even after that job for almost 2 years, I was struggling. I even wanted to go for another PhD from America. And I asked Professor Fevzi about it. Do you think I should do it? And everybody asked me why. And the reason I felt was because people just, judge you or doubt you if your PhD. I felt it. My PhD was not from America. And normally in conferences here, people ask you, and now it's okay, now it's very different. But in the start, when I came, the first thing was like, where is your PhD from? And the moment I would say Malaysia, then you could clearly see that, there's like a funny look, or, it's like that. So I was so stressed because of that even 2 years after my job, I still wanted to get another PhD from America. And then I remember I talked to Professor Fevzi about it. I talked to Professor Muzo about it. I asked him, like, what do you think, right? I talked to Professor K. Chon about it. Really senior people who are really, the who's who in our field. And all of them told me that maybe it's not a good idea. Now you already have a job, so focus on what you are doing in your job. So I took that advice then, right? So focus more on what I'm doing. And one other thing, okay, so maybe if you ask Professor Fevzi this, he is very kind. He may tell you that, no, it's not like this, okay, but I'll tell you this. In my life, in US, I have not seen people hardworking more than Professor Fevzi, Professor Jihan, and a few other people who are not Americans or not from, English-speaking countries or places like this. Now, I'm not discriminating against all this, but I feel that when you are different than other people, then and you go through these things, right? Maybe you don't want to say it publicly, but you go through them, and somehow it puts you in a mindset that you have to work hard. Honestly, if you look at Professor Fevzi, he doesn't need to work hard. His name is all there. Everybody knows him. There's so much respect and everything.
He's a guru.
But still, like every day you see he wakes up and there's like this constant hard work going on. Same is the case with Professor Jihan, with Professor Muzo. Look at him. It's just unbelievable, right? So it's not stopping, but you have to do it. And I feel it's the same with me. I do a lot of hard work because somehow in the back of my head, I feel that you have to self-validate. You have to validate yourself. You need to make sure that, people don't say that you are from here, you are from there, or stuff like this. So that's how I take it.
Okay.
I want to make a comment about discrimination.
Yes, please.
This is sensitive, but wherever you go, somehow don't expect a red carpet welcome.
Yes.
I was badly treated in Turkey, in my own country at Muğla University. Yes, they treated me nice, but also there were some discrimination or attacks. And then when I came to this country, I struggled in many ways to become an associate professor, to become a professor, to become an endowed chair professor. There is never a red carpet welcome at all. The only way you can survive is keep working, do what you need to do above and beyond. So discrimination is everywhere, not just here or there. You will face this from university to university, place to place. So that's my suggestion. And if you get better and better, do what you do better than others, gradually they cannot stop you. But sure, they are taller, shorter, smarter, long hair, always. That are better than you in many ways. But the advice is put your head into the work, do what you are supposed to do better than, be better than others, do above and beyond, and then have faith in God.
Yes, right. Thank you very much.
And then also one last thing is, Faizan, also we should be humble in many ways and be grateful. And in hospitality and tourism, in social sciences, we are not curing cancer. Okay? Whatever we do is still not that significant, not that important. And your citations, I have 11,000 citations, but my competitor, Michael Porter, has over 400,000 citations. So it's all relative.
Yes.
So don't take yourself serious. Take your work serious and enjoy life.
Yes, right. This is the good comment. Thank you very much, Fevzi Hocam. Yes.
I need to join another meeting. All right, you take care. And nice seeing you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor,
for your contribution.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, we almost end of the session. I would like to thank to Dr. Faizan Ali for accepting our invitation, and also as I said, I was the co-moderator. Actually, I am the temporary moderator. And thank you very much for the Sedan helping to me, and thank you very much for the other participants. Maybe we can meet in another meeting, but I will not be a moderator. Okay, thank you very much.
Before you close the session, Güntekin Hocam wants to speak.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't see that.
Güntekin Hocam, can you please unmute yourself?
İyi akşamlar. Good evening to all. Greetings from Central Asia, the motherland of Turks. How are you all?
Thank you.
Thank you, Hocam. Your voice is not clear enough. Can you please speak louder a bit?
Okay. Just a moment. Okay. How is it now? Good?
Yes. Almost.
Okay, good evening all. How are you? Are you fine?
Thank you.
From Central Asia, the motherland of Turks. First of all, I want to thank Professor Faizan. He gave precious information to us. I know that will be useful for our students. I do not have any question about research, but I just wonder. There is a sentence on the shelf, Dr. Faizan, on the shelf. I don't read it, but I think. What does it mean?
It says it's your control.
Does it mean research is equal to control?
Well, honestly, first of all, thank you so much for joining and your kind words. I always believe that, if you have internal drive, you think you can do things. And many times it's about motivation. So Sedan knows that she has worked with me that if I have something on my list and I need to do it, and even if I sleep 3 hours a night, I'll do 3 hours, but I'll finish that stuff. So, and I normally, when people tell me how is it possible, then I tell them, have you ever seen a cat? I mean, in Turkey, you guys like cats, right? It's really, really nice and everybody loves them. But have you ever tried to take a cat's kitten from near the mother cat? Then you see what happens. That cat becomes suddenly like a tiger. It's internal drive, right? It's internal drive. So sometimes if you want to do things, you can certainly do things, right? So that's why I say it's in your control, because I think you can really control things. Now, many, having said that, I believe why many people do not believe in this control thing is because of the fear of unknown. So, one simple example, and then I'll let you continue, is this. Recently, I was asked by one PhD student. This PhD student told me that my supervisor is not listening to me and I'm trying to meet my supervisor and this and that, and what should I do? So I asked her, did you sit down with your supervisor and try to explain your situation, saying that I come from this country and there's a scholarship I need to finish? And this person said, no, I did not. I said, if you did not talk to your supervisor, how do you expect your supervisor to know your situation, right? You need to talk to your supervisor. Then this person said, oh, how about if my supervisor gets angry or upset? I said, but you didn't talk. How would you know that your supervisor will get angry or upset or something? So I believe that many scholars have fear of unknown, right? It's like, okay, maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen, and they just don't try because of it. So my take is that if and it's possible that your paper gets rejected or maybe your supervisor don't talk to you, it's highly possible. But let it happen and then be scared. Like, don't be scared before it happens. It's like somebody is holding a gun in front of you and you die before they even fire. It doesn't make sense, right? So that's why I believe in this. It's in your control thing.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the session. I would like to pass the microphone to Professor Tanrısevdi to close the session. Can you please close the session, Professor?
Sure, I can, but it's up to you. So thank you for all the participants, and the special thanks to particularly Dr. Faizan and Dr. Akumuş. They give some insights, and they're very beneficial, and that's valuable, just not for the existing faculty members. We have a lot of graduate students in the sessions, so they, I think, benefit from some lessons from your speech. So again, we'll be very. It's going to be a great opportunity to welcome you in Kuşadası again one day, maybe next time after coronavirus. And I would like to collaborate you anytime, and the graduate students as well. So that was a great opportunity for all of us. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you, Professor. I just want to say one thing quickly. Anybody in this session, or if you are a professor and if you have students who have some problem with research methods, or if you want my review on your paper or anything, right, please reach out to me. I normally reply to all the emails. Sometimes it's a little late, maybe one day late or something, but I do respond to all the emails. So feel free to reach out to me. And then also, if you want to develop your understanding of research methods or journals, then my YouTube channel, not because I want views or anything, but it's a good resource for many scholars. Like, I interview professors and editors and stuff like this. So do that. And lastly, I am doing sessions for graduate students. So what I'll do is I'll send an email to the moderators of this session, right? Like Sidan, and then Professor Abdullah and Professor Osman. And then maybe Sidan can help me if you want me to send to some other people with a link that you can register to. And then anything that we do, you will get an email. And if you want to be part of it, then you can certainly be part of it. One thing that is coming in March 15th or something, I have a very, very good friend of me. He is an editor of South Asia Journal of Marketing from Emerald. I have him for 1.5 hours about qualitative research. So what he will do is he will talk about his own paper that is published, but how he started the idea, how did he develop it, and then how did he deal with the paper submission, reviewer comments. So one example throughout, from idea generation to publishing. So it can give people some, insight into qualitative research. So I'll be happy to get anybody who is interested in these sessions, and they are completely free to attend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for attending this session. So, Professor Osman Özdan, do you want to add something else?
Thank you very much for you, or for all participants. Once again, thank you very much, Faizan Ali.
Thank you.
Maybe once again we can make it again, because time is limited, as you know. And as Abdullah Tanrısevdi said, we want to host you in Kuşadası again, and we can watch the view together. Okay? And because of the view, maybe we cannot be so productive, but we will try our best. Okay, thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank
Maybe Ülker Hocam can close with her last speech.
Thank you very much again, Faizan. Thank you for not revising and accepting our invitation and valuable contribution and useful information that you gave us. Thank you. Teşekkür ediyorum. Sedan, Osman Hocam, Sedan Hocam, Güntekin Hocam, Abdullah Hocam ve katılan diğer bütün ismini göremediğim diğer hocalarıma katılımlar için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Çok verimli, çok güzel bir toplantıydı. Zeynep Hocam teşekkür ediyorum katıldığınız için. Fevzi'ye de teşekkür ediyorum. Katılımlarınız ve katkılarınız için her birinize ayrı ayrı teşekkür ediyorum.
See you then.
Herkese.
See you.
Have a great day, Faizan. See you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.